In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the air hummed with tension. Representatives from dozens of advanced species filled the amphitheater, their voices raised in heated debate. The vast room, an architectural marvel of crystalline structures and floating platforms, reflected the collective intellect of a galaxy-spanning civilization. But today, the topic on the floor was not one of progress or peace, it was war. Humanity, one delegate declared, his voice sharp and disdainful, is a reckless, expansionist species. They have no regard for the delicate balance we have maintained across the galaxy for millennia. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Another alien, her translucent form shimmering under the Council's ethereal light, added, "Their rapid technological growth is alarming. They leap from one breakthrough to the next, unbothered by the ethical ramifications. If we allow this unchecked development to continue, they will surpass us all." But not all voices supported this view. A calm, measured tone cut through the noise. "And yet, they are young," argued a delegate whose appearance resembled flowing silver liquid. "They lack the wisdom of time. Perhaps guidance, not annihilation, is what they require." The debate raged on, oscillating between those who saw humanity as a threat to be neutralized and those who advocated for a more tempered approach. The humans had drawn attention after expanding into unclaimed territories, seemingly ignorant, or indifferent, to the unwritten laws governing galactic diplomacy. They were too ambitious, too bold, too unpredictable. In the midst of the uproar, a deep, resonant voice silenced the chamber. "Enough," it said, carrying the weight of authority and experience. All eyes turned to Zhyrex, an aged warrior from the Zalrithian species. His towering, armored frame bore scars from countless battles, each one a testament to his survival. His piercing gaze swept over the assembly, commanding respect. "I request the floor," he said simply. The council granted it without objection. Zhyrex stepped forward, his heavy steps echoing in the silence. He paused for a moment, gathering his thoughts, before speaking. "You debate humanity as if they are an abstraction, a mere problem to be solved. But I have faced them. I have seen their strength, their resilience. And I am here to warn you. War with humans is not a path we should take." The statement sent a ripple of unease through the crowd. Zhyrex continued, his voice steady and deliberate. "Decades ago, I led a fleet against a human colony. It was supposed to be a simple operation, a demonstration of superior force. Yet, what I encountered was unlike anything I had faced in my long years of service. Humans are not like us. They are not predictable." One delegate interrupted, skepticism etched across his features. "You would have us believe that these primitives, barely emerging from their own star system, pose a genuine threat?" Zhyrex fixed the speaker with a sharp glare. "Do not mistake their youth for weakness. Humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They possess a unique ability to adapt, to learn from their mistakes, and to grow stronger under pressure. Underestimating them will be our undoing." The chamber fell silent again, the weight of Zyrex's words hanging heavy in the air. He allowed the silence to stretch before continuing. "I am not here to speak in absolutes. I will not claim they are invincible, nor that they are incapable of error. But I tell you this, if we choose war, we will face a species that turns every loss into a lesson, every failure into a stepping stone. And they will not stop until they have overcome us." Zhyrex stepped back, his piece said. The council remained silent, their collective minds processing his warning. For the first time in centuries, the assembly of the galaxy's most powerful beings seemed uncertain. The veteran's words lingered, a chilling reminder that power alone does not guarantee victory. Zyrex's voice deepened as he recounted his tale to the Galactic Council, the memory as vivid as if it had happened yesterday. "It was a skirmish. Or so we thought," he began. "Humans had settled on a planet far beyond what we deemed their reach. Our intelligence suggested they were an unorganized, primitive race, incapable of holding their ground against an advanced force like ours. I led the assault, expecting swift victory. What we encountered, however, was anything but simple." He paused, his gaze scanning the faces of the council. Their ships were crude by our standards, pieced together with an almost careless disregard for aesthetics or efficiency. But they had something we did not anticipate: creativity. The chamber remained silent as Zhyrex continued. Their fleet was vastly outnumbered, outgunned, and technologically inferior. Any logical species would have surrendered, retreated, or sought negotiation. Not the humans. Instead, they launched a counteroffensive that defied all logic. They baited us, drawing smaller sections of our fleet into ambushes. They used their environment, weaponized their terrain, and even sacrificed entire squadrons to lure us into traps. He paused, his claws flexing slightly as he remembered the chaos. I underestimated them. We all did. They did not fight like we expected. Their tactics were erratic, unpredictable. One moment, they retreated, scattering as though in disarray. The next, they regrouped and attacked with a ferocity that rivaled even the most battle-hardened of our kind. It was as though they thrived in the chaos they created. Zyrex's voice dropped, his tone tinged with a rare hint of admiration. And then there was their resilience. We targeted their key vessels, their command ships. On any other battlefield, the loss of leadership would have collapsed their forces. But the humans, they did not falter. When one leader fell, another rose. They adapted, communicated, and continued to fight as if the chain of command was merely a suggestion rather than a necessity. They were driven by something we could not understand, a unity, a determination that went beyond mere survival. A member of the council interjected, skeptical. Their determination alone cannot explain their victory. Surely their luck ran out. Zyrex's expression hardened. It was not luck. It was ingenuity. When their weapons failed to match ours, they improvised. I saw them rig civilian ships with explosives, turning them into crude yet effective bombs. I watched as they used their own disabled vessels as shields, creating barriers that disrupted our formations. Their strategy was not built on superior technology, but on an unmatched ability to adapt to the unexpected. They turned every disadvantage into an opportunity. His claws tapped against the podium as he continued, his voice quieter now, almost reflective. I remember the moment we realized we were losing. Our fleet was superior in every measurable way, yet we were being outmaneuvered, outthought. My soldiers, disciplined and well-trained, began to falter. Fear spread among them. Not fear of death, but fear of fighting an enemy that seemed to grow stronger with every mistake we made. The chamber remained silent, the weight of Zyrex's words pressing down on everyone present. In the end, we withdrew. Not because we lacked firepower or resources, but because we realized continuing the battle would cost us everything. We had never faced a species like them before, one that turned chaos into strategy, one that refused to break, no matter the odds. He took a deep breath, the memories still vivid. I carried the scars of that battle for years, not just on my body, but in my mind. It was not their technology or their weapons that haunted me. It was their spirit. Humans do not fight because they want to dominate or destroy. They fight because they refuse to be subjugated. And that, above all else, is what makes them so dangerous. Zyrex's voice rose slightly as he concluded. If you believe that we can crush them with sheer numbers or advanced weaponry, you are mistaken. They will adapt. They will learn. And they will emerge stronger. I witnessed it firsthand. And I am here to ensure that none of you make the same mistake I did. Underestimating humans is a fatal error, one that no amount of technological superiority can rectify. The room was silent as Zhyrex stepped back, his words hanging in the air like a heavy weight. The council members exchanged uneasy glances, the veteran's story challenging their assumptions. Zhyrex remained still, his gaze unwavering, as he waited for the assembly to process what he had just revealed. Zhyrex stood firm, his voice taking on a tone of quiet reverence as he continued addressing the council. What I learned after that battle stayed with me. I could not simply forget humanity. Their ways, their essence. It lingered in my thoughts long after the warships had returned to their docks. I began studying them, not as enemies, but as something far more complex. And what I discovered solidified my belief that war against them would be a grave mistake. He paused, as if gathering his thoughts, before continuing. Humans are defined by their adaptability. Their history is one of relentless evolution, born from struggle and adversity. Where other species stagnate in comfort, humans thrive in chaos. They are a species that grows sharper under pressure, that learns faster in the face of failure. It is their defining trait, and it is terrifying. His gaze swept across the council chamber, daring any to challenge his words. Their adaptability is not limited to warfare. It permeates every facet of their existence. They are creatures of invention, constantly seeking solutions to problems they do not yet face. They take risks that defy reason, pushing boundaries that would frighten others into inaction. And when they fail, and they often do, they rebuild, stronger than before. Failure for them is not an end, but a beginning. He leaned forward, his tone growing more intense. After the battle, I examined the remnants of their fleet. What struck me was not their technology, primitive by our standards, but how they used it. Humans do not rely solely on their tools. They innovate in ways that no other species can match. They find connections where none seem to exist, turning scraps into solutions. A damaged engine becomes a weapon. A failing power core becomes bait. It is not the tools they have but the minds behind them that make them dangerous. Zhyrex's claws rested on the edge of the podium as he continued, his voice steady, but filled with conviction. But their ingenuity is only part of the equation. Humans possess an emotional depth that drives them in ways we struggle to comprehend. They fight not just for survival, but for each other. For ideals. For a future they can barely imagine. I have seen their bond, their capacity to inspire one another, even in the darkest moments. It is not weakness, as some of you may think. It is their greatest strength. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in before proceeding. You may think this emotional depth makes them irrational, unpredictable, even volatile. And you would be correct. But it also makes them relentless. They are not bound by the cold calculations that guide many of us. They act with passion, with purpose. And that makes them capable of feats we cannot anticipate. Zhyrex straightened, his voice softening as he spoke of what he had observed after the conflict. Their cultural evolution is as remarkable as their technological progress. They create stories, art, and philosophies that transcend their limitations. Through these, they forge identities, inspire unity, and strengthen their resolve. It is this fusion of intellect and emotion, of strategy and spirit, that makes them unlike any other species. They are not the strongest, not the most advanced, but they are the most determined. He glanced around the chamber, his expression firm. And they learn from us. Every encounter, every skirmish, every interaction, they absorb it all. They analyze us, adapt to us, and use what they learn to overcome us. Where we rely on tradition, on systems perfected over millennia, they rely on change. They are not afraid to abandon what does not work, to reinvent themselves, to reshape their path. And in doing so, they leave us behind. Zhyrex's tone turned somber. You speak of their technological progress with alarm, and rightly so. In a few short decades, they have leapt from a single planet to the stars. What you fail to grasp is that this progress is accelerating. Every obstacle they face, every barrier we place before them, becomes another rung on the ladder they climb. If you believe we can outpace them, you are deluding yourselves. He let out a heavy breath, his gaze unwavering. They are not bound by our rules, our assumptions, our limitations. Where we see impossibilities, they see challenges. Where we cling to what we know, they embrace the unknown. This is why I urge you to reconsider. War with humanity will not be the decisive victory you imagine. It will be the beginning of an arms race we cannot win. They will meet every strike with a countermeasure, every advance with a new innovation, every defeat with an evolution we cannot predict. Zhyrex's voice dropped to a near whisper, the finality of his words hanging in the air. We think ourselves masters of the galaxy, but humanity has the potential to surpass us all. Not through brute strength or technological supremacy, but through their sheer will to adapt and endure. We face a choice: to guide them, to learn from them, or to provoke them into becoming the very force we fear. Choose wisely. He stepped back, the weight of his warning pressing down on the silent chamber. The delegates sat motionless, their confidence shaken by the depth of his insight. For the first time, they truly understood the nature of the enemy they contemplated. The chamber was unnervingly quiet as Zhyrex's words hung in the air, their weight palpable. The silence was only broken by a soft hum of thought forms exchanged among telepathic delegates and the faint shifting of limbs from the more physically expressive species. No one spoke at first, their confidence in a simple decision eroded by the gravity of Zhyrex's warning. Finally, one delegate, a being encased in a crystalline exoskeleton, broke the silence. Your words paint a dire picture, General, but I question whether they are grounded in reality. Humanity is but one species, and even with their potential for adaptation, they lack the resources, the numbers, and the alliances to truly stand against the Council. Zhyrex's expression didn't falter. You're correct about their current state. They are fragmented, divided by nations, cultures, and ideologies. But that division is their strength. Each fragment approaches challenges differently, ensuring a diversity of solutions. When the time comes, and it will, they will unite under a common cause, driven not by conquest, but by the survival instinct that has carried them through every trial. Do not mistake their current disarray for weakness. It is merely the calm before the storm. Another voice chimed in, softer but no less skeptical. Even if they unite, they lack our advanced technologies. Any war would be over before they could begin to adapt. Zhyrex's gaze hardened. You overestimate the advantage of technology. Humans do not need parity to win. They need time. Time to analyze, to reverse engineer, to turn our strengths into weaknesses. Give them one victory, just one, and they will exploit it to learn everything they need. I have seen it. I have lived it. A ripple of discomfort spread through the assembly. Zhyrex continued, his tone unwavering. Consider the nature of war itself. For many of us, it is a tool, a calculated strategy to achieve political or territorial aims. For humans, it is survival. They do not see war as an option, they see it as an inevitability. Their history is built on it. They've fought each other, the elements, even their own planet, and they've endured. To them, war is not the end of diplomacy. It is simply another form of it. And that mindset, that relentless drive, makes them impossible to predict and even harder to defeat. A delegate from a species known for their logic-based decision-making stood, his translucent limbs glowing faintly. If they are as dangerous as you claim, then war may be our only option to neutralize them before they become unstoppable. Zhyrex shook his head slowly. And if you fail? What then? If we strike and they survive, even by the narrowest margin, we will have forged the very enemy we fear. Every loss they suffer will teach them. Every hardship will harden them. War will not neutralize humanity. It will galvanize them. The chamber grew tense again as Zhyrex's words settled over the assembly. The veteran's voice grew softer, almost contemplative. I am not saying they are invincible. No species is. But humanity's strength lies not in avoiding defeat, but in what they do after it. They will come back stronger, more unified, more determined. They will not rest until they have ensured their survival, no matter the cost to us. He straightened, his gaze sweeping the room. And I ask you this, what if we are wrong? What if humanity does not desire war, but cooperation? What if, instead of creating an enemy, we forge an ally? Their potential is undeniable. If guided wisely, they could become a force for innovation, for progress, for unity in the galaxy. But if we treat them as a threat, we will turn them into one. The choice is ours, and it is not one to be taken lightly. A murmur spread through the room, uncertainty rippling through the delegates. One voice, calm and measured, rose above the others. If what you say is true, then our best course of action is diplomacy. But how do we ensure they accept it? How do we prevent their ambition from overtaking their reason? Zhyrex met the speaker's gaze. By treating them as equals, not as inferiors to be controlled or eradicated. Humanity values respect, even from their enemies. If we approach them with honesty, if we offer them a seat at this very council, they may see us not as overlords, but as partners. That will not guarantee peace, but it will plant the seed for it. The council fell into a hushed debate, delegates exchanging thoughts and concerns. Zhyrex stood silently, his presence a reminder of the stakes. Finally, the head of the council, a towering being with an aura of authority, spoke. General Zhyrex, your testimony has been heard and considered. The council will now deliberate. Zhyrex nodded, stepping back, his role complete. He watched as the delegates turned inward, their discussions muted but intense. Time passed, the room heavy with tension. When the decision was finally announced, it was not with fanfare, but with quiet resolution. The council chose to pursue diplomacy, to approach humanity with caution, but without aggression. The chamber buzzed with mixed reactions, but Zhyrex allowed himself a small moment of relief. As he left the chamber, his mind was heavy with the knowledge that the future was uncertain. Humanity's path was unpredictable, their potential limitless. But for now, war had been averted. And perhaps, just perhaps, a bridge had been built instead of a battlefield.